So in this video, you're going to learn the fundamental mistake when writing a song and what's going to hamstring its success before anything else. Production, mixing, mastering, any of that won't matter if you don't get this one aspect right. So we're going to be covering that in this song amongst a bunch of other mixing and mastering issues that we find inside of this song to really enhance it to a professional level. So make sure that you're wearing some studio headphones, and we'll dive into the actual mix and song review. Okay, so my first impression right off the bat is that the lead guitar is a little bit out of time. It's not too bad, so I'm not going to harp on it too much, but if you could just like nudge that just a little bit right in the right direction, it's going to sound a lot tighter and cleaner, and it's going to sound more professional right off the bat. Just with a little bit of editing would go a long way in just that intro right there. It's far enough out of time that it's kind of ruining the groove of the drums, because I'm like kind of getting into the drums, but then that lead guitar comes in and it's like, what? I don't know. That's just my gut reaction when I hear that. Okay, so the bass line is very interesting in this because it's kind of feeling like this is the chorus, right? This is supposed to be the hook, and the bass line is like kind of just like rising up the whole time, and it's like not quite following along with the groove. I'm confused by the bass line. As a bassist, I don't think that this bass line is serving the song well. It sounds like somebody is trying to show off on the bass, but it's like falling flat because it's not really musical for this section of the song. Also, especially if it's trying to be a hook, which it sounds like it's trying to be, then I would very much focus on keeping the actual bass of the song covered. And because you're going up so high on the bass, it's actually not really filling out that area of the sonic spectrum, and it's making this whole section of the song feel really empty. So it's kind of confusing me on that side of things initially. And then the other thing is that it sounds like the vocal is not being supported very well. So it also sounds like the vocal is just a little bit nasally. So if you're singing and you plug your nose like this, then you should actually still be able to hear tones, because you can sing really nasally, and it's like, I can sing like this. So you can tell, right? Like I'm blocking all of that sound. Like I'm singing like this, and that's really obviously nasally. And then the opposite is also true, like I'm singing like this, and I can plug my nose, I'm singing like this, right? I'm plugging my nose, and the only times you're really hearing that nasaliness come out is when I'm singing an N or an M sound, because those are inherently nasally. You have to use your nose to produce those consonants. But overall, you should be able to sing, plug your nose, and not actually have any inhibitions when you're actually singing. And so I used to struggle with that a lot, and it's very, very common, especially with people who don't have any vocal training, to sing really nasally, because it just seems kind of more natural too. But if we support our voice properly, we're supporting from our gut, then we'll actually have a less nasal in our voice, and you can actually control that, but you kind of have to learn how to do that. So a good exercise to do is just to plug your nose and like intentionally sing nasally, and then don't sing nasally, and then kind of figure out what your voice is actually doing internally. Memorize that feeling, and then you're going to be able to sing properly when you're actually trying to execute on something. Again, you'll have that choice. If you want to sing super nasally, you have that just choice. Tool is in your toolbox. But I would argue that usually singing nasally intentionally is not the best way to approach singing for the most part. Okay, let's move on. Okay, the other thing, we are now 47 seconds into the song, and I still have no idea what it's about. The lyrics that I've heard is I want to put it in your hands. Secondly, in your hands. Those are the only lyrics that I've heard in this whole song, and so I don't really know what the story is. And again, the point of a song is to communicate a story of some sort. And so you want to know three main things. It's who's talking, who are they talking to, and what are they talking about. Right now, I know that they're talking about putting it in your hands, but that's not very descriptive. What's being put in the hands? I don't know. Also, like, why are they doing this? Who are they putting what in whose hands? Like, it's just, there's no story right now. And so I'm finding it very difficult to get into the story of the song, understand, like, what are we trying to communicate with the song? So the other thing is that little interlude there. The bass guitar sounds a little bit just generic. It sounds very much like a DI bass, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but I would prefer to put an amp sim of some sort on that. There's tons of amp sims. There's some stock amp sims inside of your DAW, so I would just put that bass guitar into an amp sim and it's going to sound 10 times more professional immediately. Barring anything else you do to the bass, just put it through an amp sim, it's going to sound way better than what it does right now. Okay, so the vocals have some pitch issues right there, so I'd be very cognizant of that. When you're producing your song, make sure that you're going to edit your vocal and tune it where necessary to prevent any pitch issues from arising. Also, when you're singing more nasally, it's easier to have pitch issues, or rather it's harder to sing on pitch, and so that's kind of a natural consequence of that, rather than properly supporting your voice and singing through your mouth, not your nose. And then the other thing that I wanted to add here was I still don't know what the story is about. We are now 120 into the song, or 117 into the song, and I've now heard 4 lyrics, which is, I want to put it in your hands, and I always try to take it back. Again, I have no idea what we're talking about still. I'm not sure what you're putting in hands, whose hands we're talking about, and what you're trying to take back after you put it in their hands. Like, I don't know. Is it your car keys? Is it, I don't know. Whatever. So that guitar is probably too quiet because it seems like that's trying to be the main part of this section. It's the new element that kind of comes in here, but it's also has a ton of reverb on it, which isn't making it feel very present. In this whole section right here, I'm very confused about because I'm not sure exactly what I'm supposed to be listening to as the listener of the song. And so as the mixing engineer, right, my job is to direct people into what they're supposed to be paying attention to at every stage of the song. And I think it's the guitar, but I'm not sure because it's so quiet and also so reverby, so it sounds like it's way in the back. So I'd probably lessen the reverb, still keep some reverb on it, it's cool, but not so much. And then also bring it up, bring it louder more in my face, so then I know, like, oh, this cool little guitar part is like, the main thing I'm supposed to be paying attention to. Okay, so this section is really confusing me because the main vocal, right, that's centered in the middle of the mix is way in the back. So there's a bunch of effects, bunch of reverb. Very common to make this mistake when you're first mixing is that you want to add a bunch of effects to your main vocal to make it sound super epic, and then you end up actually pushing it way back in the mix. And so I have my go-to techniques for preventing this is to add a slight delay, or you could even kind of view it as a pre-delay to the vocal to prevent the direct sound from being too impacted by the reverb you're adding. So for example, I like to use slapback delays a lot on my vocals, and so I'll add a slapback delay to my vocal. It'll be 100 milliseconds or so delayed, and then the reverb will be on that delay, not the direct sound. So it keeps the direct sound closer, and then also I don't go overboard with reverb and delay and effects and all of that on my main vocal to keep it very up close, personal, and present. The thing that's really confusing me about this is that the vocal is like very, very much affected in terms of has lots of reverb and delays and all that stuff. And it's fine to have that, except that there's this like really dry vocal on the left-hand side, which is supposed to be a background vocal, but that is way perceptually much closer than the lead vocal. So it's just like really confusing me in this section of the song. And I think it's supposed to be like, oh, there's like all these like vocals like kind of randomly coming in here and there. And that's like, I could see that vibe trying to be inserted into this section of the song, but it kind of feels a little bit flat because the vocals aren't all consistent. There's some that are like really close to me that's like, off to the side though still. And it sounds like it should be the main vocal, but it's not really the main vocal part. And it's just like, again, confusing me as the listener. I want to be directed to pay attention to whatever I'm supposed to be paying attention to. And at this point in time, I'm very much confused on what I'm supposed to be paying attention to at this section of the song. Also, the vocals tend to be very, very right hand heavy, and so I would try to double some of those background vocals to spread them out so it's like actually even between the left and right, or just like have some vocals that come in on the left, because it's just like so right hand heavy that it just feels, the mix feels unbalanced to me right now. Even though like volume wise it's not really, it just feels that way because of the vocals. So the other thing is the kick, I'm noticing is kind of dead sounding. I would want to bring up some of the top end of that kick to bring out some of the click. And so that's probably going to be around 5 to 8 kilohertz or so. Bringing up some of that click is going to be really nice. And then also it's going to behoove the kick to drop some of that like 150 hertz probably. Let's actually go ahead and add an EQ, see what we can do here. So I'd probably cut around here or so, 3 decibels, probably good. And then bring out some of the click, probably around here-ish. Yeah, it's gonna be somewhere around here. I can't really quite distinguish the kick right now just with the whole mix, but I would definitely be looking out for that. It sounds like it almost was low passed a little bit, so all that top end was rolled off the kick, which is a massive mistake if that was actually done with the kick, or it just might be a very dead sounding kick, and so you might have to either add a sample to it or just add a little bit more oomph to it. It's not the worst thing in the world. The kick is okay. It's just I feel like it could be enhanced quite a bit to really, benefit the song in the best way possible. Yeah, and the vocal itself is pretty mid-range forward, I'll say. And this happens with nasally vocals pretty much all the time. So let's add a quick EQ and see if we can fix the vocal. Yeah, so I'd probably add a little bit more 100 hertz to it, take a little bit of that 500 out of it, and then also the 2.6K, and then a nice little boost there on the top end. That's going to bring out the best of this vocal, because right now, again, it's so nasally, it's going to be very much living in that mid-range. The top end, while it doesn't really sound very good initially, it's going to bring out some of that distinction so I can tell what you're actually saying in the song. However, again, there's still no story to this song, so that's my biggest complaint overall is like, there's no reason for me to listen to this song because I don't know what it's about, and there's no like compelling story at all behind the lyrics. And there might be, it's just that's not communicated through the lyrics a little bit nicer. Again, I think the whole vocal performance needs to be redone in general. We'll keep going here, finish out this. Yeah, I think the whole song could use a little bit more of this kind of EQ. It's living very much in that mid-range, and I would focus on especially enhancing some of this low-end stuff and just cleaning up that top end. There's some just nastiness up there anyway. Yeah, and so the snare and the hats are a little bit too top end heavy, just a tad. But overall, like the whole thing needs to come up. So all the other elements, I'd probably add just a little bit of top end too, because I wouldn't be able to fix that with mastering because it would harm the snare and the hi-hat in terms of boosting that too much. And so there's very limited you could do from a mastering perspective. But at the end of the day, it does need some more top end. I think the vocal is going to be the main aspect of that, but adding just a little bit more there, a little less mid-range, and it's going to be much better balanced for before mastering. Okay, so hopefully you enjoyed that review and were able to learn something from me reviewing this song. If you want to learn the true fundamentals of mixing and mastering, understanding truly what it is, what it's supposed to be doing, and then also enhancing your songs in the right way possible, nailing those fundamentals of your mix, the mindset, and the actual skills to be able to get a professional sounding mix. These techniques and principles are going to give you the highest return on your time out of anything else I could possibly teach you. And I've compiled all of these things inside of a very convenient course, and it's right down below, free for your access. You can just click the link below and get free access to it immediately and enjoy learning the true fundamentals of mixing and mastering and what is going to give you the real results with your mixes. Okay, enjoy that, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video here on YouTube. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.